Okay, so we're doing some viewer tattoos today. Just back to basics here, I think. So,
So this one says, "Hey man, hailing from Brandon MB and came across your videos a few months back, fellow Canadian. Love your thinking outside the box, and it's honestly opened up my eyes to what can be done. I have some older tattoos that used up a good amount of real estate, and now that I'm older, I can't afford what I really want. It's not that I don't like my old tattoos, it's just I've honed in my ideas. Plus, I'm better financially situated. Looking to completely redo my back in 2026. Anyways, keep on pushing the boundaries, and here's a sleeve I've been working on with Mr. Paul Booth, and and a chest cover up with Carl Grace, leaving my right arm for Brandon Herrera.
Brandon Herrera, we've featured him on here before.
Cool.
His work is similar to Masakarov. And Paul Booth is, I've talked about him before. I haven't featured him on here, but he was like tattooing in the late 80s, and he still tattoos. And he was one of the first guys to do like anything like kind of cosmic horror, like body horror, mostly like black and gray and fairly soft. And this does read to me as one of his pieces.
This is cool. I like it all has like that moon texture.
Yeah, it's got a lot of texture work. Like Rick really likes Paul Booth, and you can see that in Rick's work because it's all like texture work and stuff.
I bet you Dave would like him too.
I don't know. That's not really the same thing.
No.
I don't see him going down this road. This is like, to do these things, it requires like a real interest in like texturing and stuff like that, and not everybody cares about that shit. And it's also a thing that like not a lot of clients care about either. Like most people, when you give them the choice between my rose sleeve and my other sleeve with Rick,
it's a rose sleeve.
Yeah, and the thing is like this one is undoubtedly better. Like in terms of technicality, there's way more going on in it, and way more texturing and different colors and all kinds of, and like most people, they just want a big cool picture.
Right.
Like, they don't give a fuck about anything. They think that they'll see like a big thing and they'll be like, oh, look at the details. There's almost no details. And they're like, look at the details. It's like, no. This stuff is incredibly detailed, and more detailed than what most people will think, like even see, right? Like most people just go, oh, cool Kraken or squid or something, right? I mean, I just like,
Cthulhu.
I look at all the, what, it could be, right? Like,
Moon Cthulhu.
yeah, it could be. It's some kind of eldritch horror, right? Like Cthulhu looks different depending on, like this is based on Cthulhu too.
Wow.
So it's like, you know, there's all different interpretations of something when it doesn't actually exist. But like, this is a piece that I would be interested in.
Right.
I would just want the color version of this, and Paul Booth does mostly black and gray work, which is why I'm not so much geared towards it. Like I would want the whole thing to be darker and more colorful. But that said, if this is a cover-up, like it's a really good one. I think I can see where they covered, but you can just barely kind of get a hunch, right? You can't really say, like, if it is a cover-up, what it was under there.
Right.
The part at the top that's just slightly darker than the rest seems to me like there could be something lurking underneath. But like when you have someone who's been doing this forever working on you, it's a different thing. They just know more tricks. Like, yeah, I've always liked his work, but I think that some guys have taken it more in a direction of like what I prefer, which would be a Brandon Herrera or Masakarov. Again, I personally prefer Masakarov. His stuff has got more of that evil, grungy kind of look to it.
Yeah.
But Brandon Herrera's work is very good too. So I would like to see what else he does if this is the direction he's going in. And I would like to see some of your old work too. Don't just spoil me with the good stuff. I completely understand this idea of like you have more money than you had when you were young. And that's why it's important to know that you aren't stuck with your tattoos forever. You can change them basically whenever you want. And that doesn't matter what someone down the road is telling you or what you're reading on Instagram from 1,000 sheep and half-wits that are just parroting something some bozo they read said. Because most of them don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Right.
Anyway, it's a cool looking sleeve.
So the next one says, Been working with the same artist from the start. Beside my dog tag, has a lot of work ahead of me. Think I've had about 17 hours done so far. Not as extreme as some, but I want to hear your take anyways. Cheers from Australia.
It's funny to me, like when I hear 17 hours, that sounds like nothing. Like literally nothing. Like it feels like the beginnings of a project, you know.
Yeah.
But for most people, that's like a significant time and money investment.
Exactly. Most people, that's...
Well, you see, it's hard to get someone to pay $100 fucking deposit, let alone go in, you know, a couple grand on something. I don't think it's that people have too little money these days. I think that people are just lazy and impatient.
Maybe.
They want you to like drive to their house and tattoo them in their bed so they don't have to get up and put pants on. So to go 17 hours is a lot better than that, right? So I'll give you the credit for that much. With that said, I do kind of like the panda. I don't really like the black and red geometric thing.
I don't mind it.
It all looks a little bit wonky. And this is where, like, in those kinds of things, everything has to be pretty perfect for it to look right.
Well, it's not easy.
That's where that thing that Terry's working on that guy,
Is extremely
he wouldn't want to
impressive.
do that every day.
No.
But every line has to be absolutely perfect, or else the whole thing will look a little shifty, right? And it doesn't look that crazy. It's just like, in a normal tattoo, his lines would look clean as fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like when you have these things that are incredibly, you know, parallel and symmetrical, anything going wrong at all draws the eye, and I see all kinds of inconsistencies.
Oh, yeah.
Just in the overall shapes of things even, right? Like different parts of it. One side is longer, one side is shorter, right? There's more black here than there is here, right? There's all kinds of those things everywhere. And what happens is the moment you look at it, you realize that something doesn't look right, and then it makes you hunt for what it is. That's
Right.
what happens to me anyway.
Yeah,
Usually
no,
like
I agree.
the overall presentation will like something will strike you, and then you're like, oh, I wonder what that is. And you're like, oh, okay, there's a lot of problems here. But the polar bear is pretty, or not the panda bear is pretty cool.
Yeah, I like
It's
them.
just when you get into the really technical part of this, you see the little bit of shortcomings on the artist's technical. Yeah, and you see more of that in this bottom here. Less, but still more.
I wish that it was brought more onto the hand.
Yeah, they really just kind of gave up for some reason. That was supposed to take up the, like, this skull should have been bigger, come down to about where that mandala finishes.
Yeah, and then the mandala should be...
Yeah, taper
rest.
off onto the knuckles a little bit.
Yeah.
Where they have those dotty things, those should have started on the knuckles, because that's where they were going to lose most of this. It's just like, if you're on the hand, take the whole hand, because it's going to be harder to add something to it later.
Right.
It's going to be way harder to add something to this. Like, because now they're going to be like, if they ever want to continue that, it's like, do we just add more of these red and black squares or shapes and just make more of them?
I do really like the black and red, though. Like, I
Yeah,
think black and red looks nice together.
I would have preferred a deeper red, I think. I think it's maybe a little too, like, cherry. But, like, this would have all looked better if they had gone a little more bold with it. Like, just had the skull and the geometric be larger. Also, I think that the skull should have ended closer to the finish of the front of that geometric.
Yeah.
Like, the geometric should have started and maybe taken up about that much space under the skull. You know? So, because the skull is the feature piece. The geometric is a background for the skull.
Makes sense.
Not the other way around, whereas the skull kind of looks like he's behind the geometric, the way they've done it. I also don't know about having a woman's nipple on your arm like this. Like, I appreciate a loud tattoo, I do, but like, we're not specifically trying to start shit either. It seems a little aggressive.
Nah. Well,
On the arm, right? Because it's out all the time.
my ex had a dick and a nipple on his arm.
Yeah,
so.
and he was using that as an excuse not to get a job.
His trans lady. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that guy was using that as an excuse not to get a job. They won't hire me. Yeah, because you're a
No,
fucking
it was the
asshole.
hand tattoos. Those were the excuse. Let's talk about.
I
this,
have never had a problem finding
I
work.
know you haven't. It's fine.
So-
you don't need to. Yeah. Anyways, let's talk about this part.
Yeah, I like the bee.
It's
very, very fucking weird.
Yeah, it's too sparse for me.
Yeah, it's way too much open space. It kind of has like a feel of like they're attempting like a Trash Polka type layout, but they just didn't send it hard enough. Like with Trash Polka, you need open spaces. Like you kind of have to have negative to do Trash Polka well, which is part of why I was never able to really do much with that style. I had one piece with it, but it's got this kind of like graffiti paint splash mess look to it. But like you need to have more black in there than they have to set off the red properly.
Yeah.
And the negative. And yeah, it just kind of looks like they had some things here and then they tried to do a sleeve around it.
That's what I think too.
Yeah, and it was just like, yeah, maybe you should have just started this on the other arm if you have space on that arm, because like there were some okay ideas here that just didn't land.
I also think that they should go back and resaturate some of the reds.
Oh, of course.
They could use a second go.
Almost all color, actually, I'm just going to say it, pretty much all color could use a second pass. Whether you ever do it or not, it would be better if you did. And a lot of artists have done this thing where they don't want to do touch-ups, and so they'll like put this idea out there. I've seen artists do this on TikTok. Don't get a second pass if you don't need one.
Right.
Right? Because they don't want to do free work.
No.
That's all that's about. Anyone who's being truthful will tell you that the color would be in there better if they hit it again.
Oh, of course.
Those are just lazy half-wits and hacks that are just pushing misinformation. Yeah, you can get more ink in there. You're just being lazy. So I think, yeah, do all the red again. It will look better.
I think so.
Yeah, I also think that what they have here could have been a whole sleeve layout. Like if he wanted that woman on his arm like that.
Yeah, she should take up
should have
that
been-
whole top of the arm.
Yeah, she should have been your whole bicep. That rose should round out your bicep. And then she should come down to here. And then you have this geometric thing coming through your ditch, which is a great way to use the ditch and elbow. Just sparse kind of shading and things. And then you do the rose in the eye, then the skull onto the hand, and then the geometric finish. That's the layout for that sleeve.
Perfect.
It doesn't need to be more than that. But obviously we're too far into it now to do that. But sometimes you'll look at something and you're like, oh, that should have been the whole arm. And this is a case where that happens.
All right. Move on to the next one. So this one says, hey, some more colorful work for this month's session. Had to travel for it, so we did 15 hours. Red out on the arm with the flowers is next, 3 to 4 hours at the end of the month. We'll keep you posted. About 6 hours left every month until June 2025, and I will sit on them for a couple of years. Oh, this is cool.
Yeah, I like this. This is the right size for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's beautiful, bright, vibrant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
those
is
light pinks and yet light yellows are hard to work with,
Yeah,
too.
this is a really cool
Light greens.
tattoo.
Yep. The guy who did this is awesome.
Yeah, you did a really good job.
Yeah, I really like that they did a villain thing with it, too. The only thing that I would say is I would prefer Frieza to Boo. Not so much a fan of Boo.
Yeah.
I think some cool things happened in that arc, but like as a villain, I don't like Boo.
It is kind of sad without Frieza being present too. Like,
Well, Frieza was the better villain, I
I think
think.
he's a big deal.
Yeah, Frieza's the better villain overall, and I think that's why they brought Frieza back, too.
Well, and Frieza
And he's back again in the comics.
has like an uncapped potential, right?
Yeah.
Like he trained for 2 seconds. Then
I mean,
super
if you were a kid watching Dragon Ball Z, like, unless you got into it late, like, the Frieza arc was the best. Like, that was the best of it.
Yeah.
For sure. Like, yeah, some cool things happened after that, for sure. Like, it was all pretty good. But, like, the height of it, I remember watching it, like, and waiting for the next episode. And,
Well,
like,
'cause you
during that
knew.
Frieza arc, it was like, this is amazing.
Well, you knew that at some point someone was going Super Saiyan, and you were just on the edge of your seat constantly, like, when's Goku gonna do it?
It seemed like he was unbeatable, though.
Yeah.
Like, it went forever that they couldn't beat him. Like, he just kept getting stronger,
Oh, yeah.
and he had so many forms. And, like, that battle with like all the planets falling apart. Like it's iconic. So like the only thing I question is like, why would you do Boo instead? Maybe you can do a follow-up and you can explain to me your thought process.
Yeah.
Because you
we
even
want
could have had
Frieza.
the same kind of color play as well. Because Frieza was, you know, he was like pinky purple as well.
Yeah.
So pink, white, and purple. You could have still had this kind of a balance of colors and used the better villain, in my opinion. I want to know what they're going to do for a background.
Right.
Looks like they've got some kind of background elements built into this.
Starting in some spots.
I just wonder how they carry that out, if they're just going to do different colors in between them to break them all up.
I don't know.
Also, like, I would do something about the nipples.
I know they're screaming at me
Yeah,
right now.
like they, just the way that you've cut so close to them, they look like they're like sleeping on someone's like breasts or something.
Yeah.
You know, like it'd just be better if you just black through those or color over them or something.
Or like add some like some smoke or some like
Something.
Kai
Incorporate them
energy
somehow.
coming off of them or something.
But yeah, this is really, really nice.
Yeah,
I like to
this is
see
like
this.
some top-notch anime tattooing. I love it.
I really like the blue tinge off of Vegeta's hair. Majin Vegeta is a great pick too. If you were going to do any Vegeta, he was the best of it. I think was that arc for Vegeta.
The best character in the whole series. He
Oh,
has
I
the most
agree.
development.
I like Vegeta and Frieza the most.
Yeah.